Thursday's raids took place in the group's stronghold of Raqqah. Now, there's been no official confirmation as to whether the strike killed Mohammed Emwazi. Now, the Kuwaiti-born British citizen participated in gruesome videos showing the killings of American and British hostages. Now, we heard from the British Prime Minister just a short while ago speaking on the matter. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Last night, the United States carried out an airstrike in Raqqah, Syria, targeting Mohammed Emwazi, the ISIL executioner known as Jihadi John. We cannot yet be certain if the strike was successful. Now, if this strike was successful, and we still await confirmation of that, it will be a strike at the heart of ISIL. And it will demonstrate to those who would do Britain, our people, and our allies harm, we have a long reach, we have unwavering determination, and we never forget about our citizens.
Well, for more on the story, we can speak now with Jonathan Russell from counter-terrorism think tank Quilliam. Thank you very much for joining us here on the program. Now, we heard the British Prime Minister saying that if Mohammed Emwazi's death is confirmed, it will be a strike at the heart of ISIL, also known as the Islamic State group. Do you agree with this?
Well, look, we've got to be clear. A kinetic response is clearly not inappropriate. This man is a murderer and is responsible for the death of many innocent hostages. I would, however, say, and of course the world is better without him, I would say that, though, in the long term, we've got to think about dismantling the Salafi jihadi ideology and reduce the effectiveness of ISIS propaganda. Because, let's be clear, Jihadi John, while a propaganda symbol, of strategic value in their propaganda, was not a mastermind, was not an ideologue, was not a strategist, was not a leader of Islamic State. And even a man who was all of those things to Al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden, when he was killed, Al-Qaeda did not suffer. So I think we've got to look beyond just this targeted killing approach and think strategically about how we can dismantle ISIS and their effectiveness long term.
So this is more a question perhaps of narrative and how it's spun.
Absolutely, and the challenge here on narrative is twofold. At the moment, Islamic State monopolise the winning narrative. One reason they're attractive to young British Muslims is because they project that they're winning the war against the West and spin that, underpin it by their ideology, and tell a very compelling story. So too, they seem to monopolise victimhood and control that narrative and say even when the West, when the US target people like Jihadi John, it's indicative of the Crusader Zionist Shia alliance against them. Without tackling those narratives first, and without reducing people's vulnerability to be exploited by those narratives, it doesn't matter whether we can take out people like Jihadi John. The truth is that they will mobilize it, they will spin it, and they will reinforce their echo chamber to make sure they can continue to radicalize and recruit vulnerable young people.
So then, in your opinion, what is an effective way for Western governments or any governments facing IS to change the narrative the way they want?
So let's understand and unpick the victimhood narrative, for example. They spin it as indicative of this alliance. We must say, look, we don't target civilians, we just target terrorists. We oppose Assad more effectively than Islamic State do. Jihadists kill more Muslims than the West. And when you jihadists spin this as martyrdom and a testament of faith to the caliphate with your moral certitude, let's question that moral certitude and say, from an Islamic perspective, the Prophet taught that people who die from natural disasters, painful illnesses, are martyrs. The true martyrs here, therefore, are victims of terrorist attacks, not people like Jihadi John. We've got to get to grips with that. We've got to do that with a theological underpinning as credible as Islamic State. And we've got to do that effectively with our target audience to make sure we can use social media as effective as this group, to make sure we get the message out to these people and control the narratives on that. Because at the moment, Islamic State are controlling the narrative.